You got to build the team around the quarterback. And look at a team that didn't do that, the Panthers. The Panthers go and trade everything to go get their hopefully franchise quarterback. They draft Bryce Young and bring him into a terrible situation. He has no weapons. He has a bad O-line. He's not able to work a miracle, and I don't think he's a very good quarterback in general. You'd see him missing throws that he should have hit. He's just panicked when he was under pressure, but there's no way he was going to succeed with no weapons around him. Just a terrible situation. Meanwhile, you look at the inverse. CJ Stroud, he's in a tremendous situation because they already had pieces around him. They had some receivers that went and built up a defense around him. He's able to succeed. Bears with Caleb, they already have one of the top defenses in the league. Their O-line still needs help, and that needs to be addressed, but they have receivers around the rookie. They have weapons. If they can fix their play calling and then tweak the O-line, that's a team that's in a position to be good because they've built the complementary pieces. Panthers, they throw their rookie quarterback into the fire. He's already benched year 2.
So first of all, if you look at the trade, so number one, you got to start from the beginning. You get rid of Christian McCaffrey. Right there, you're telling everyone in the league, hey, fire sale, we're trying to rebuild. Great. Then you get rid of Brian Burns. So most of the trades kind of going through now. There's still one first-round pick that hasn't been used yet. So this ends up like this. The Panthers basically traded Caleb Williams, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, the 2023 top 10 first pick, a 2023 round 2 pick, 2024 round 1 pick, which ended up being pick 1, and then the 2025 round 1 pick. So you essentially gave them 3 of number 1 picks, Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, and all you got was 1 year of Brian Burns. You got DJ Johnson, who was ranked last in PFF edge grades. You got Bryce Young, who has not shown you anything, and 2 round 5 picks. I mean, you want to talk about an absolute disaster class on how to run a team. That is what they're going to put in the textbooks. If you want to be a GM one day, you're going to sit in GM class or whatever, and they're going to say, well, let's bring up the 2023 and 2024 and 2022 Panthers on what not to do. And this is exactly that. Now, it's like you said, the inverse of that, right? You have the Texans. They get 2 top 5 picks, or was it like 2 top 10 picks for sure? And you go draft Will Anderson, who's a stud on defense. So you help your defense there. You get you a new coach, D'Amico Ryans, and then you draft CJ Stroud. And then you have Nico Collins, you hit on that draft. Now you trade for Stephon Diggs and you sign Joe Mixon. You just gave your quarterback, who's on a cheap deal, all of these weapons. And on top of that, you hit on Tank Dell also in the later rounds. And then now if you look at the Bears, right? It's like what you said. They have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. You use a number 9 pick to draft Rome Odunze, and you signed DeAndre Swift from the Eagles, and he was a good back with the Eagles. I mean, I've always been under the impression, at least I say always, but at least for the last 6, 7, 8 years, you have to build around the quarterbacks. Like you said, Dave, you have to build around the quarterbacks, and I don't understand these teams that would try to go so top heavy with the quarterback and leave him with nothing. And I think it's extremely unfair for Bryce Young. I mean, we're talking about his wide receiver 1 last year was Adam Thielen, a 30-something-year-old receiver, and his wide receiver 2 is Terrace Marshall, who got waived this season. His O-line is awful. You draft the kid from NC State. I always mispronounce his name, so I ain't even going to try it. And he doesn't look that great either. And your defense is a shell of what it was. Obviously, you get rid of your pieces there. JC Horn, he doesn't look that great either. So you're missing in the draft. So when you just combine combination of missing in the draft and over trading, you're going to destine yourself to eternal hell. They're not in purgatory. They are in hell. They have assets that are still going out to other teams. Everywhere else, I'm going to even say this. Sam Darnold just beat the 49ers as a starting quarterback. And Baker Mayfield has been thriving. He got himself a new $100 million contract with the Buccaneers. They had both these quarterbacks on roster. And look at what happened. It's really a tale of 2 stories, right? Because people will always say, okay, it's important to go and do a rebuild. Well, this is the side of the rebuild that's tough because sometimes you may not ever get out of the rebuild. Kind of like the Browns, right, back in the day. They just kept, and I always say the Browns' biggest issue back then, they drafted a damn quarterback every single year in the first round. That's your problem. Stop giving up on your guys that you draft in the first round to be quarterback after a year or 2 when your team is so bad that you're picking top 3 every year. That's so unfair. They have no weapons and their defense sucks. And yet you tell them, hey, we're going to fire this coach that you learned with already, right, for a year. We're going to fire him. Now you're going to learn with a new coach. And on top of that, we're still not going to give you any weapons, and we're still not going to give you a defense. We're still not going to give you no line. But if you don't do good this year, we're going to draft another quarterback. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's kind of what the Panthers seem like they're going to do. Yes, I understand there is a point where you have to pull the plug before you get too far down the rabbit hole, and you just got to chalk it up to, you got to charge it to the game. Take your L, take your losses. That's the folly of the NFL, knowing when to pull your cards. Otherwise, you just get too far down. So for the Panthers, I do feel bad for Bryce Young. I feel like, because he's had 3 offensive coordinators in 2 years. He has no O-line. He's 5'10". So people say that's hindering him. His defense is extremely suspect, and his best receiver right now is who? A rookie, Xavier Legette, who they're not even really utilizing like that, or Deontay Johnson, who isn't getting the target share that he was getting with the Steelers. So this is just all bad. We're talking 2012 Charlotte Bobcats level of bad. This is awful. If this team wins a game within the next 2 years, I would be thoroughly surprised. I would. Shout out to Andy Dalton. He is the biggest dirty Mac in the league. He just knows. He has a nose for where to go. Because how you put yourself in position with the Saints to go and start, and then you go to the Panthers, and once again, you find yourself in a position to start. I mean, I don't think Andy Dalton's going to do it. I think Andy Dalton will score maybe a few more points, but I don't think it's going to help anything in the grand scheme of things. And ultimately, what you just did, you just completely killed your first pick in the draft QB's confidence. Bryce Young's confidence is going to be dead. So if there was any chance of him being good, I feel like you just threw it out the window. So to me, the only solution is you got to trade Bryce Young. Try to get some assets back. You just sat here and said you're giving up on him already after all the mismanagement that you did. Unfair to him, but that's what the game is. Unfortunately, it's not fair for everybody. Not everybody gets to be like C.J. Stroud and Caleb Williams. Hell, he can go call Justin Fields. Justin Fields would be the first one to tell him, hey, man, I didn't get a good pull at the stick either, because look at what they gave me. Yeah, they gave me DJ Moore, but that was about it. Now they're giving Caleb Williams everything under the sun. And I'm here with the Steelers. But, I mean, you have to trade him. That's my take. Panthers suck. I feel bad for Bryce Young. David Tepper got to sell the damn team.
That is what I wanted to get into, because say what you want about the Panthers, they will never win anything as long as David Tepper's the owner. The Panthers now have the worst record in the NFL since Tepper purchased the team in 2018. They have lost more than double the amount of games that they have won. Now, if you want to go into some of the reason why, it's because he is the most impatient owner in the league by far. When he took over, they had Ron Rivera as his head coach. Fires him after 2 years. Hires Matt Rule to a huge 7-year deal, paying him a ton of money. Fires him after 2 years. Brings in Frank Reich. Fires him after 1 year. Now they bring in Dave Canales. I don't know how long he's going to last because they suck. They've already given up on Bryce Young, and they've got an impatient owner. If he gets fired, who's going to want to take that job where you've got no job security and are in a terrible organization? And that's not even the worst of it. If you look at their starting quarterbacks, in 2018, they had Cam Newton, Kyle Allen, and Taylor Heineke as starters. The next year, they have Kyle Allen, Cam Newton, and Will Grier as starters. Notice how they have 3 different quarterbacks starting both those seasons. But then they move on from them because they suck. So they go get Teddy Bridgewater, think he's going to save the team. He doesn't. PJ Walker even gets a start that season. Then the next year they're like, okay, well, he's not good. Let's go get Sam Darnold. He's going to save the team. Then realize that he doesn't. So they try Cam Newton. He doesn't work. They try PJ Walker. He gets 1 win. The next year, though, they're like, all right, Sam Darnold. They believe in him a bit when they start him after Baker sucks. But then they give up on him too. Go back to PJ Walker, just all these retread quarterbacks they have, just mixing people up. And then they're like, all right, you know what? We want our franchise guy. Let's trade our entire organization and get Bryce Young. And then they bench him after 1 season. It's just ridiculous how they have all these quarterbacks that they're cycling, all these coaches that they're cycling, because they have an owner that all he wants to do is win right now and doesn't realize that this isn't Madden. You have to actually build up a good team, build up a good foundation. You can't just do that overnight by going and getting some mediocre quarterback to go fill in, or going and trading your entire organization to go get the number 1 overall pick and expect him to carry.